Live from iRacing's virtual Watkins Glen, welcome sim racing fans to the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship live on RaceSpotTV. Happy that all of you could join us here live for the next season of F3 action live on RaceSpot. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the commentary booth is George Morgan. And George, first of all, welcome to RaceSpotTV. Welcome to the Next Level official F3 Championship. We're in for some exciting racing here from the Glen.
Oh, absolutely, Joshua. I'm so hyped for this one here tonight. My debut here at RaceSpot. It couldn't come at any higher velocity. We're going to be seeing these cars head around the Glen. Watkins Glen. What a vast history this has with regards to single-seaters, Formula One, various racing series. NASCAR own this circuit, for goodness sake. There's going to be an action-packed display certainly out there tonight.
And fans of F3 can remember back to the last season we broadcasted here on RaceSpotTV. Some exciting action from round number 1 at Watkins Glen. We start the season again here and the challenges of this track. We talk about the bus stop on the back. We're going to go through the boot section, which is down past the carousel that NASCAR doesn't run on. So that's very difficult with the elevation changes, a downhill braking zone. This track is throwing everything at these drivers today, and whoever can master it is going to walk away with the first win of the season.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle the S's section, of course. That has been certainly on the cards for a number of years. It's a very, very tricky point of the circuit, not to mention the boot as well. You've got a couple of really difficult hairpin bends to negotiate there. You've got the toe and then heading down towards the heel as well. Going to be very treacherous for a lot of these guys.
We get a great look up atop of Watkins Glen International Raceway. A great racing facility, IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, like you mentioned, Formula One. The list goes on and on of racing series who have gone to this racetrack, and the list goes on and on of drivers who have been successful at this racetrack, most notably Chase Elliott, of course, grabbing his first ever win here at Watkins Glen, went on to win the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Here's the schedule for iRacing 2021 Season 4 of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. Watkins Glen, Snetterton next week, which is going to be a bit of an interesting one. Suzuka, Hockenheimring, Canadian Sire, Laguna Seca, Donington Park, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, Zandvoort, Sebring, Red Bull Ring, and Hungaroring. Most notably, the Hungaroring on that list, the newest circuit to be added to the iRacing service in terms of road courses. We're going to be capping off the season there, just like we did at the Red Bull Ring last season. So, interesting schedule to say the least. A lot of famous Formula One tracks on that, George, and we're starting, of course, with the former F1 track, but not an F1 track anymore. Has been used in the past in iRacing Open Wheel World Championships. We're going to see a lot of these F3 drivers go racing on a track that really is not used in the real life when it comes to these sort of cars.
No, not at all. I mean, you have to go back years and years before we saw a single-seater event at this very circuit, but a pleasure to have it on the calendar, to say the least, and what better to have it on as the first race of this season. It's going to be extraordinary. These cars, 220 horsepower, and that just goes to show, as you can now see them hightailing up through the sections of this circuit. It's going to be absolutely sensational. Just a little word on the calendar as well. What a calendar we have on offer. Certainly some of the best race circuits to grace sim racing, even real racing as well. If you look at the likes of Suzuka, Snetterton, Hockenheimring, I mean, the list goes on. Donington, Spa-Francorchamps. Those are the names synonymous with some of the best racing in the world. I simply can't wait, Joshua. It's going to be an absolute classic.
2 minutes remaining here in qualifying from Watkins Glen. Good look at Will Redford, who has joined us multiple times here on the Top Split broadcast on RaceSpotTV in that number 14 machine. He'll go up the hill through the boot and right on back down the hill. And they race into this downhill braking zone of turn 8, the heel of the boot. One of the toughest to get right. Easy to go off track and outbrake yourself and end up in that grass. Back up the hill into sweeping turn 9. And you go back onto the NASCAR layout and you exit the boot here at Watkins Glen. See what time Will Redford can put on the board, trying to improve on a 12th place currently. First lap, a 1:38.597. What can they do here on lap number 2? Full throttle coming to the line. 1:38.253. It will be an improvement up to P8. Great run for the 14 of Redford.
Absolutely, a great time indeed, and as you said, a great improvement as well. P8, a 138.253, a good way to go. But Thiago Spencer enjoying himself at the top end, a 137.833, a massive 0.5 of a second quicker. There's Nicholas Rasmussen as well. We did debate beforehand whether this is a link to the great Freddie Rasmussen of Red Bull Racing Esports. Just got running a little bit wide there, though, and that just goes to show how tricky this very, very tough circuit certainly is as he now makes his way through it. And you can see there, he's actually backed out of the lap. That just goes to show how tough this track really is. Certainly, as you said, around the boot section, I can imagine being the toughest track.
More drivers laying down times. Jerome Laney now working his way through the boot. Doesn't look like he's going to have enough time to get back to the line. So we have 10 seconds left in qualifying. Turn 7 he's going through right now. Up into the bottom heel of the boot. And that is going to conclude qualifying here from Virtual Watkins Glen. Time to get a look top to bottom at your starting grid for the opening round of the season here from Virtual Watkins Glen. And what a lineup it is. Thiago Spencer, anybody used to watching F3 here on RaceSpotTV will know that name. A very fast driver takes the pole, but Raul Hyman to the outside, another very fast driver looking to spoil the party of Thiago Spencer. Alessandro Di Tullio takes that third spot. Paulo Dreza in fourth with Connor Wagner rounding out the top 5. David Holland comes home 6th in qualifying with Jose Copland in 7th. Will Redford 8th. Flavio Dantas 9th with Matteo Graziano rounding out your top 10. Josh McCall alongside Rafael Camara there on that 6th row. Adrian Falcon, the unofficial champion from last year. Luca Bencoletto starting to his outside on row 7. Colin Chin, Leonard Cherry finishing out that top 16 with Jerome Lamy. Nicholas Rasmussen back that top 18. Connor Bell, Tobias Olsen, Sergio Set Camara, very familiar name to people, fans of open wheel racing there in 21st. Stephen Verity 22nd. Philip Schiff, Victor Balea, Daniel Camameri, and Peter Hruska rounding out 26 drivers who are getting ready to take the green flag here from Virtual Watkins Glen. And as the lights are about to come up, George, what's your pick? Who are you picking to win this race? Because we have so many fast drivers lining up here on the starting grid.
Oh, it's sensational. I mean, Thiago, what a qualifying lap. I mean, obviously Thiago Spencer was instantly the man to watch given the time that he put on the board, but maybe Sergio Sette Camara, maybe he can utilize his real racing expertise and sort of generate some real prowess. Of course, certainly racecraft is prevalent. He might be a better racer than qualifier. We'll have to wait and see.
Just waiting on a handful of more drivers to work their way to the grid. Make that 2 drivers, make that no drivers as the lights are ready to come up. Thiago Spencer going to lead the field down into turn number 1. It's the next season of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship, and we are racing from the Glen. Everybody goes down into turn number 1. Everybody already shuffling around, but already getting out in front is Thiago Spencer trying to hold that lead. Raul Hyman in second. Everybody's going wide. Contact in the back. One car going to go around. That looks to be Leonard Cherry around. Actually, that's Josh McCall that got spun around in T1, but they go side by side. Wagner and Drayton fighting. One more car around. More contact as they go up the hill. That's Connor Bell getting turned around, and more as they race into the bus stop. Still fighting for spots. Everybody shuffling around.
Absolutely. What a rocket of a start indeed by Thiago Spencer, but instantly joined by Raul Hyman round the outside now as they take the next right-hander. They're going wheel to wheel still, but this man, Thiago Spencer, he likes a fight. He likes a gamble. Oh, a big crash in behind as well. As we're looking further down, I believe that might have been, was that Philip Sheaf? I'm not quite sure, but still in front. Oh, massive pile-up. Wheels off the car. Suspension's broken, but Raul Hyman leads them around the next right.
Schiff, Olsen, and more involved in that one as Raul Hyman gets away with the race lead. A bit surprising as well. Thiago Spencer giving up that race lead through the carousel, but as they race into the downhill braking zone, anybody gonna go for moves? No, they're not. A little bit further back, Flavio Dantas going for a move on Matteo Graziano, and as they run back up the hill, still 2 wide further back, but the leader's getting settled out single file. 3 wide for a moment. Colin Chin's in the middle of this mess. Adrian Falcon's there as well. Matteo Graziano is here, as well as Will Redford making a move on Copland, and a huge contact. Matteo Graziano, Colin Chin, and more involved. Luca Bencoletto involved in this one as well. Peter Hruska looks like he might have gotten some damage. And tragedy on the first lap for a ton of cars. We now have a new race leader at the front, Raul Hyman, going on to lap number 2. Just chaos on the first lap as we get started. Gets set in for 20 laps.
Absolutely, it's Carnage already. Cars all over the place, but nevertheless, Raul Hyman, what a getaway. Manages to get ahead of Thiago Spencer, who's still in P2, but look at Alessandro Di Tullio all over the rear end of him there, looking to try and gain some form of a slipstream as they make their way down the straight now. They've got the loop to take very shortly in behind. Incoming now, Di Tullio. He's going alongside there of Thiago Spencer. You can see in front there trying to block the way through is Hyman as well, but I think he's managed to make his way through. There's David Holland in behind as well. He's managed to gain traction. Thiago Spencer, a mega drop. He's down into P4.
On board with David Holland as we look back on Thiago Spencer racing into the boot now. Holland trying to hold on to this top 3 spot. Raul Hyman, Alessandro Di Tullio, now your top 2 as they race up the hill. Now in the middle of the boot, Thiago Spencer still falling down places. He's got a mirror full of Connor Wagner now as they go single file at the front. A little bit further back, it's a line with Copland, Redford, and Kamara. A little bit further up now, Kamara's going to make a move on Redford. Sideways, that's Kamara trying to save it. He will, but Redford's gonna peek a nose back into the bottom. Side by side, out of the boot they go, and Kamara's gonna have to settle for P9 as he got loose making that move through turn 8, and able to get back on by is Will Redford. And they continue to fight up at the front. Hyman's trying to pull away. He's going to for the moment as everybody gets about a 3/10 gap in between them here in the front 5.
They certainly do. Look at Kamara now up into P8 as he now battles with Redford. There's Sergio Sette Camera, my pick indeed for this race, and he's doing absolutely superbly right now. What a mammoth grind to move his way up the field. A massive 7 places have garnered him up into the top 10. It's sensational stuff indeed for that man. Hyman still leads. The gap is shrinking between him and Tullio. They're now within a 1/10 of a second, but the battle still rages on the orange car now alongside, dressed in amber now, as Tullio looks for the lead here, heading down towards the next right. Outside maneuver, not enough to defeat Hyman there, who's holding on to his top spot, and he regains at least or near enough a 2/10 advantage.
That slipstream on the back straightaway coming in handy for Alessandro Di Tullio. Just not able to get enough heading into the outer loop of turn 5 to be able to make that move work. But Raul Hyman, a little bit of connection issues. We'll see if that affects him a little bit later on. But that 5 machine still out in front, still pulling away as Di Tullio gonna have to try again from P2. What can David Holland do from P3? He's shown some speed. He's up 3 spots from where he started in P6. Watch for him to still be up at the front. Thiago Spencer hasn't gotten off of this fight yet. Paulo Dreta has only lost 1 spot from starting in P4. They're still in the top 5 fight. You can put a blanket over the top 5 right now, separated by less than a 1.5 seconds. And as they come back to the line, it's still Hyman out in front, but watch the slipstream on the back straightaway. That is going to be the key for Di Tullio getting around Hyman. If he can use it, make a move into the carousel, we could see something happen as we see a replay of the first lap incident with Josh McCall getting spun around in T1.
Yeah, he didn't have a very easy start at all. Poor Josh McCall, who's now cemented at the back of the current running cars. Of course, the rest of them currently in the pits. McCall in the rear of these active runners. As now we're seeing Hyman. I'm not sure quite what happened there. Maybe a bit of a desync, but he's up there still. He's still fighting Tullio in behind now as Holland. I've got to say, he's looking ever so dangerous in P3. He's hunting all over the rear of Tullio there. And in behind as well, you can see that Dreta coming into the fray, as well as Wagner, as well as Kaplan as well. They're all coming through as Tullio now takes them around the next right-hander with in behind him Holland as well. Thiago Spencer still hanging on in the rear. He might choose to utilize the slipstream in order to maybe activate an overtake, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's been helter-skelter from the word go. We love the drama, Joshua, and it's coming to us in an abundance.
And it looks like race leader Raul Hyman just had his internet drop out. He's scored down P16. He is not on the racetrack right now, awaiting for official word from the iRacing sim if he did officially drop out due to packet loss, due to network connection, but he is currently not on the racetrack. That puts Alessandro Di Tullio up into the top spot. That puts David Holland into P2. That puts Thiago Spencer now back up into P3. Dreta and Wagner now your top 5, with Raul Hyman unofficially now out of this race. That is going to change the structure of this lead. What can Di Tullio do at the front of the field? There's the contact with Jerome Lamy on lap number 1 going through the carousel, and one more car gets thrown into that mess. It looks like a total of 4 cars involved in that one. And official word now, disconnected due to incoming packet loss. Hyman is out of this race.
Yeah, Wagner just posting a fastest lap there at 1:38.2 is what he gains, and that is an absolutely massive crash. Big shame as well to lose the leader too, but Tullio still very much in front. He was fighting for that lead himself. Everyone here in the same spec Dallara cars here as they make their way down the stretch. This is where certainly the slipstream will come to fruition. Thiago Spencer once again, and just look at the front man there. Tullio trying to block off the inside line as they make their way through now, and certainly David Holland under pressure, but certainly the favourable line going to that of Thiago Spencer, still wheel to wheel, but well defended from David Holland. That is what we like to see in mind as well. Paolo Trietta, who is still very much in the fight as well. His blue car mirroring that of Thiago Spencer coming up through the next right-hander, and he's watching these 3 leaders poleaxe their way through this straight. Certainly so far, Di Tullio looking so cool, convincing, brilliant up at the front. He's managing this race with, I think, the 2nd place position. That's the one that's up for grabs right now.
Racing their way through the boot, and as they run their way up and out, still in the lead, that is the 3 of Alessandro Di Taleo. Further back, David Holland, Thiago Spencer, Paulo Dreita, Connor Wagner, the top 5. Out of these drivers at the front, Di Taleo, Holland, and Wagner are all teammates. Spencer and Dreita are teammates. So it is a double team fight at the front of this field right now, starting to settle in to a long race. Thiago Spencer looked to try and make a move to the inside of David Holland. Unfortunately, just was not able to do it. He'll stay in P3. Holland keeps P2 for the moment. They run up the hill. Pulling away now is Di Taleo at the front of this field as we go on board with Paulo Dreita. Side by side between Holland and Spencer. Can they make it 3 wide? It looks like they want to, and they will. 3 wide coming down the back straightaway at the Glen. How is this going to work out as they go into the carousel? Still side by side, down on the bottom. Holland trying to defend the spot, and he does. Thiago Spencer on the outside. He's going to have to settle into P4 with Dreita and Wagner rounding out this fight. Everybody gets single file as they dive into the boot, but that 3 wide could have been close to an instant if they would have taken that into the carousel.
Absolutely. What an exchange between all of these guys, and I hope you're all enjoying it there at home as well. Please power the live chat, folks. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts in this race as we're watching? Look at the cameras now on the next on the right hand side. That's Balea, who actually lost out there. I believe it was to Verardi, who moved his way up into P12. A wonderful exchange, or was it? No, it wasn't Verardi. It was Balea who's coming in on the inside now. This is a live feed, folks, and certainly an extremely hot race this is right now, heading around Watkins Glen, and Balea and Verardi laying it into each other right now. Wheel-to-wheel action between these two. Inside line for Balea, and he does land it as well. Brilliant from him, and moves his way up into P12 and sinks certainly Verardi down a spot into P13. Balea P12. What an exchange.
Great battles happening throughout this field, giving you an update on all the drivers that were involved in one of the opening lap incidents. We have 15 drivers currently on the track and on the lead lap. 16th back from there are either drivers that are multiple laps down, 1 lap down, or are out of this race. So we have 15 drivers still racing for the win on the lead lap, and it's side-by-side battling down the back straightaway. Going to the inside, looks like Thiago Spencer once more from Paulo Dreita, trying to defend that spot around the outside. Can he make it work? Yes, he will. Dreita on the inside, trying all they can in the 6 machine. They'll stay side by side as they go into the boot, but the spot's covered off. Here comes Wagner to the bottom. What a move made by the 7 of Wagner. Found the open door, and he slammed it open. Gets the spot, put P4 to Connor Wagner as they stay side by side. That's Verardi and Hruska now battling for P13. Out of the carousel and into the boot.
Yeah, Verardi is certainly trying to land a blow there on Hruska. Hruska actually trying to land a blow on Verardi because, of course, it was Balea who overtook Verardi earlier on. That gap has now gone out slightly. Camera, that's Rafael Camera as well, who's gone ahead of Kaplan as well. So he's up into P6. A lot of battling across this circuit, but still it rages on in between Balea and Verardi right now. They're certainly trying to match their way through this next segment. In comes Hruska too. We've got a little bit of a 3-man exchange here happening out on track as Verardi and Balea coming to blows as Balea looks to try and hold off the line. Verratti trying to find his way through as well. Still wheel to wheel around the next left. In behind there as well, McCall coming back into this race. But look at this, still they're going wheel to wheel. But this time, it's certainly going to be Verratti holding on, maintaining that P12, getting it back on track. Balea now has to suffer in silence in P13.
So that moves Verity up into P12, Bolev P13, Hruska, McCall rounding out your top 15. What a run right now for McCall. Last driver on the lead lap, but keep in mind, he was involved in a first lap incident, a single spin through turn number 1 as Dreyta gets over Wagner. Redford will get it by Copland, and back here in this battle, it was almost Verity and Balea coming together, coming through turn number 1, but they were able to save it. You're on board now with Hruska as Hruska tries to make his way, peeks to the outside. Let's see if he can make that move work. They're going to go 2 wide, battling between Balea and Verity into the carousel. Will they make it 3 wide? I think they will. This can't work. They dive into the corner. There's the wheel touch. Balea goes off. The 21 gets set wide. Luckily, that's the only thing that happened there, but Verity keeps the spot. McCall gets by Hruska for the moment, but Peter Hruska's fighting back on the outside.
Yeah, McCall with a grandiose recovery from the first lap where he did have that earlier incident, spinning off, going off the track, but he's back certainly in rude health now in P13, overtaking Hruska for that P13 spot. Hruska now demoted to P14. Balea licking his wounds slightly after being forced out wide in that 3 wide affair, heading around that real harsh right-hander, but still on track and looking to get back into this fight. He is only currently a second or so, a second and a half off those drivers out in front of him. So let's wait and see. Balea is far from done yet. He will be back certainly for more as we're in lap 9 of 20. 11 laps of magic to go, Joshua.
Still a decent amount of time left as we are just gonna cross over into halfway done when they come across the line this time by. Battle for the lead is on as Di Tolleo trying to hold off David Holland, but look at Holland on the bottom. They're gonna go side by side into the carousel. The power around the outside for Holland is gonna be enough. David Holland gonna lead a lap for the first time this season. Let's see what he can do now as they go into the boot. Can Di Tolleo there in the orange number 3 get back on that mint colored number 4 of David Holland? McCall able to get by Verity as they race down the back straightaway. We stay with the battle for the lead as Holland now trying to play defense as they run up the hill in the boot.
Yeah, he looked to be the most aggressive when he was lying in P3 a few laps ago, and he's really come into this race now, leading the way with Tullio in behind too, just spotting all over the rear end of that mint car. 4 number car, certainly that's leading this race. Holland doing an extremely good job, but look at this in behind as well. Tiago Spencer still very much in the fray. He's still in P3, quite a far way back though. He's literally 9/10 of a second the difference in between him and Tullio. Wagner is still very much in the fray as well, trying to gain something at least on Spencer as well. Dreyta in P5 with Camera down in P6, but just look at this lead tussle. We have got 3.5 tenths separating Tullio and Holland, but Holland has proven to be a wily character. He's in front and managing this race well as David Holland sets the fastest lap of 1:37.875, and that is very quick.
A great lap from David Holland, and the laps are only going to get faster. Remember, in these F3 cars, the tires don't really wear out too much. They more just start to get heat into them as Rafael Camara is around. The number 15 is around, going up the hill into the back straightaway. But the battle for the lead goes to Di Tolleo. A power around the outside in the slipstream for that number 3 on David Holland. So put Di Tolleo back up to the front of this field. But as I was saying, the tires don't really wear, they just kind of heat up, and if you can get them back into an operating temperature range, you can set fastest laps all the way to the checkered flag. There's the incident for Camara, just goes straight through the grass and hard into the guardrail.
That is an absolutely massive crash, just lost the car heading over the grass. I'm not sure whether he just left it too late, a late break, locking up the tires and sending it into obscurity. Not a great place for Rafael Camara, and that will see him fall down the order. He is now back in the pits. Tullio still leading though, that's Alessandro De Tullio, who's leading the way in car number 3 in the burning orange car that has been burning like the sun at the top end. In behind as well, you've got David Holland looking to try and get back into this race. Nothing separates them. The gap is thinner than a fly's eyelash here, within 3.5 tenths of a second. In behind as well, you've got Spencer as well as Drayton, who are fighting it out in behind as well for P3 and 4 coming into this race as well. Conor Wagner is trying to find his way through, but all of them still in tandem. Plenty of battles left to go as we keep racing here in lap 11 of 20.
10 laps to go. We are past halfway. Here's a replay. Jose Kaplan almost making contact with the flying number 15, Rafael Camara, as the leaders go back up the hill. Remember, you can't see it on their paint schemes. Remember, if you are racing in the F3 series, submit your paints to RaceSpot.com/media. The battle for the lead continues. Is Holland going to go right around the outside? But these two drivers at the front are two drivers for Delta Sport. They are teammates at the front of this field. As Will Redford goes by Adrian Falcon, remember, it is teammates racing for the lead right now. They gotta be careful, George, because contact could lead to both of them being out. We know exactly what happens when teammates make contact.
We certainly do. It ends in tears, I can tell you that. I look back to Alan Prost and Ayrton Senna, of course, back in the older days of Formula One. Both of them racing hard, both of them very good at the top of their game. And I have to say, we could see a next season with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton as well. But certainly this lot are proving to be a very, very tough group of customers around this track of Watkins Glen. What a combination we have here for the F3 Championship here at this Watkins Glen circuit. The old S's, the back straight, the loop, the shoot, the toe, all of it is dipped in quality. Incredible racing action, gold as well. But these drivers have mastered it magnificently. The action has been non-stop, but David Holland still managing that gap, currently existing at around 5 tenths of a second now. He's pulling away here, Joshua.
Is this the time for David Holland to put a gap over Alessandro Di Tolleo, his teammate at Delta Sport, and get this win? Thiago Spencer falling back a little bit. He has his own teammate, Paulo Drayton, behind him. The other Delta Sport car, Conor Wagner, sits in P5. 3 Delta Sport cars in the top 5 currently. They're looking at a good finish here from Virtual Watkins Glen. You're on board with Wagner. Here's where the slipstream comes in handy. No DRS on these F3 cars, no overtake button, no ERS. It is all giraffes that you can use down the straightaways, and it becomes a very hard game to play when it comes to the slipstream, especially down these long straightaways. There's a reason that back straightaway, when it was in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, was used as a DRS zone. They can use the draft down that straightaway, make a move into the carousel. We've seen it countless times today, and I don't think we're exactly done seeing it, George, because we still have handfuls of battles all the way down the order, down into P14.
We certainly do, and it's absolutely brilliant to see. Just look at it now. The gap between Holland and Tullio brought right back in after Tullio's excellent maneuver earlier on has captured him the P1 spot as they make their way around the next left now. It's certainly been an enthralling watch from start to finish. Lap 12 of 20, folks. 8 laps of magic still remain. The mint-coloured car of Holland in behind now of Tullio. Alessandro Di Tullio managing this race himself now, but we know that the lead has changed up so many times. You cannot be complacent as they make their way down the straight. A car exiting the pit lane as well as they make their way out down towards turn 1, round the 90 bend now, heading down into it. You want to hit the apex, feather the throttle, push on now, take a lot of the escape road, heading up into the S's now, the treacherous part of the circuit. What an onboard here of David Holland. He is letting fly, certainly trying to garner anything he can on Alessandro Tullio. It's a pleasure to watch here, Joshua.
8 laps to go, and he's right in the slipstream. Is he gonna step out? We see a side-by-side battle. Right side of your screen, that's Drayton and Wagner. What are the teammates gonna do for the lead? Holland gonna step out to the outside. No fight gonna come his way from the 3 of Di Tolleo, as right on around for the lead goes Holland. Side-by-side, Will Redford to the bottom of Adrian Falcon. He's gonna take over P6, and every time cars go sending themselves into the carousel, we get position changes at the front of this field. Don't think we're done seeing it. Top 2 are in a battle. 3rd and 4th are in a battle. 4th and 5th are really in a battle here as well, with Redford and Adrian Falcon. 6th and 7th also in a battle. Top 7, 3 distinct 2-car battles that will all need to be settled by the checkered flag. At the line this time, it'll be 7 laps to go. Time quickly running out for Virtual Watkins Glen.
Absolutely, and look who's back again. Spencer's back. Tell your friends, he is right in behind Tullio right now and gaining time after time. Could he become part of this battle for the lead? We could have a three-way fight right to the end, of course. Spencer, who put it on pole for the start of this race now, is currently watching Tullio and Holland fight it out right now. David Holland, he's looking in his mirrors, I'm sure, as he can now see the relentless force of Alessandro Di Tullio. Try and match him down to turn 1. Can't get a move done yet through the 90, but they've got the S's to take next. It's going to get very treacherous heading up through these bends, though they will at the back straight. Can we see another swap for the lead?
They race up the hill. We know the slipstream on the back straightaway is crucial. How is Di Tullio going to use it, and will he use it on his teammate David Holland? Will David Holland try and defend his teammate? Stepping out to the outside. It's going to be nothing David Holland can do. He has to surrender the lead. I gotta think, George, going into the final laps of this race, are they going to throw teammates out the window, or are we still going to see the typical the car in the back make that move to the outside? No real defense from the former car in the lead, and then they just swap spots going into the carousel? Or do you think we're going to start to see some blocking going down into that corner? Will the team orders, which I don't think they have any specific team orders, just don't wreck your teammate, do you think that's going to go out the window when we reach the white flag lap?
I think we could see that happen, very much so. I think that is genuinely the case. They're using each other's slipstream to manage this race between themselves. It's a great team exercise here, and that's exactly what we like to see, certainly at the same time, but we do want to see some hard racing as well. I think you're absolutely right, Joshua. I think the white flag, as soon as that comes down, these guys are going to be going hell for leather, because there's nothing better than a P1 at Watkins Glen.
It'll be 6 to go when they come across the line. Tullio leads. Holland in P2. Will Holland make a move into turn number 1? He'll stay right tucked into the back of that back wing on Di Tullio. Tullio will keep the lead in the number 3. Look at Thiago Spencer. He could be back in this fight. He's only two and a half tenths some odd back from David Holland. And as they race up the hill to the back straightaway, you're on board with Thiago Spencer now. If he gets a good slipstream down this back straightaway, we could turn a 2-car fight for the lead into 3 and make it a 3-car battle for the race win as well, with 2 teammates that just swap spots, and Thiago Spencer throwing a wrench into this team fight at the front. Holland back to the lead through the carousel. Let's see if anything happens through the boot. Spencer has caught back up, now within 2 tenths.
Yeah, he is. I get the feeling he was playing possum. I have to say, Joshua, he looks relentless now. I said this before. Keep your eyes on Thiago Spencer. You can see the front 2, Holland and Tullio, trying to utilize the slipstream, try and gain some pace, keep the defense up, keep their shields up for this race. But in behind, you can see there now, Thiago Spencer inching just closer and closer. The more he can get closer, the better it will be for him, obviously. But the final lap is going to be crucial, I'm sure. It's the calm before the storm. And as we ride on board with Thiago Spencer now, just look ahead of him, you can see that Tullio is inching closer to that front wing of Thiago Spencer's blue livery. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here. Definitely some 3-wide affairs coming around the corner very, very soon.
Definitely think the teammates are holding back on each other. Question is, how much are they going to hold back on Thiago Spencer? He is really going to be the only non-Delta Sport driver in this battle for the lead. Paulo Dreta has an opportunity to catch up, but that gap is about 2 seconds. It's down to 2 tenths now in between Spencer and Di Tullio. When is Spencer going to try and make that move? It's 5 to go at Virtual Watkins Glen. Time is running out. How much does Spencer want to get back to the front? Remember, he was the fastest car in qualifying. He qualified on the pole, lost the lead early. Now David Holland and Alessandro Di Tullio are going to swap spots for the lead once again into the carousel. Spencer is going to maybe get close enough. No, he won't. Through the carousel, but he is within striking distance of David Holland if he can keep this gap up.
He certainly is, but look at Thiago Spencer inching closer by the moment. Once again, we see the common exchanges between Alessandro Di Tullio and David Holland as well. A consistent theme that we have seen in this race, certainly a race managed by this pair of drivers who certainly seem to be very well ingrained into the team ethic. But like you said earlier, Joshua, that could all go out the window heading into the final lap when that white flag drops. We've still got over 4 laps laps to go, or nearly 4 laps to go, before we head into the helter-skelter that is that final lap. But still in behind, Thiago Spencer. He's going to be such a force here as they come into the next left now. And you can see him just feathering the throttle, just peppering the rear wing of that man, David Holland. What does it take? What's it going to take for Thiago Spencer to get in front of these two?
4 to go at the line. 4 laps left from the Glen when they come across the stripe this time. Spencer is definitely in this fight for the lead now at the front of the field. The big question is, when is he going to really throw himself into this battle? Get by David Holland, get by Alessandro Di Taleo, go from 3rd to 2nd, maybe even 2nd to 1st. After that, they race up the hill, and look who's catching up. I mentioned Dreta might catch up if he had some time. Well, him and Connor Wagner are now within 1 second of Thiago Spencer. Stepping out goes Di Taleo. Spencer's gonna follow him. Down to the bottom goes Holland. They're working their way past the lap machine, and to the front goes Di Taleo. Here comes Thiago Spencer to look to the outside of David Holland. Is he gonna peek a nose going into the boot? Take a look at the defense from David Holland. He's gonna keep P2.
He certainly is, but look at certainly in behind there, Thiago Spencer. He's fed up of waiting. He's fed up of sitting in behind. He wants to open up the doors here and try and make a move. Just look at the exit speed he's going to garner here now, and he will have a slipstream certainly on David Holland as they rise him down through the straight. Opening chance here now for this man, Spencer, down the outside, Thiago Spencer, but he just can't find a way through, but he's going to try and use the switchback. Beautiful maneuver here from the man, Thiago Spencer. He's been an absolute thorn in the side of these two since they've been leading out to the front. Thiago Spencer, is he the kryptonite against these two? Di Tulio and Holland as well.
It'll be 3 to go at the line. Spencer has shown that he can put himself into the battle for the lead, but did him battling with Holland give an opportunity to Alessandro Di Taleo to check out at the front of the field? 7/10 is the gap, down into turn number 1. Spencer looks for the spot, not gonna be enough. David Holland gonna hold on to P2. They'll stay wing to wing as they run up the hill, go by a lap machine. Paulo Dreta, Connor Wagner trying to catch up to this lead fight, but Alessandro Di Taleo is pulling away. Here's the battle for second. Stepping to the outside goes Spencer. They are side by side running down the back straightaway in the battle for P2. Holland gonna try and defense on the inside line. Is it gonna be enough as they go into the carousel? Wagner and Dreta trade spots, and it won't be enough. Holland keeps P2 on Spencer as they go back to the boot.
They certainly do. They're flying around the boot now very shortly. They're running the next left, feathering the throttle again. But Spencer, Thiago Spencer, left frustrated by that man David Holland, who I think is actually is consoled to the fact that he probably won't win this race. The best he can do now in his mindset is keep Thiago Spencer off the rear of a potential 1-2 lockout for Di Tulio and Holland as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out towards the end of the race. They're hightailing now down to the next right-hander. Still Di Tulio currently on top. In behind you've got David Holland, who is trying to keep this man Thiago Spencer, the relentless pole sitter, who is now in P3 but trying to let everything loose. But look who's in behind and coming into this race now. It's none other than Connor Wagner and Paulo Dreta. Welcome to the show, my friends.
It is 2 to go at the line. 1 second. Now the gap between Di Taleo and Holland. Holland needs to keep Thiago Spencer behind for a 1-2 Delta Sport lockout. Now, let's talk about if Connor Wagner catches Thiago Spencer. If Wagner catches Spencer and passes him, we're looking at a 1-2-3 for Delta Sport, which is going to show that they are one of the top teams in F3. We already know that, but they're going to show it out on the racetrack today. And down the back straightaway, it's full defense from Holland as Wagner steps out looking for a move on Paulo Dreta.
It certainly is, and look at him now. Wagner has nothing to say about this one. Dreta with a great move and moves his way now up into P4 in absolutely incredible fashion, and that's what you like to see. Certainly points mean prizes, ladies and gentlemen, and this fight is raging on. They're coming around the next left now. The big coloured car certainly of Dreta still, of Holland in fact, who's holding on to that P2. Spencer in behind, trying to be the thorn in the side. He needs to try and get that P2 at least. It's on the table. It's open went for an easy platter. Can he get hold of it? That's the question. As they bomb down the straight now, many trying to break the slipstream. That, of course, being Paolo Drater. Not a lot to worry about, though. That man, Wagner, is certainly not able to gain a slipstream because he's so far back. But we're still as we are. Alessandro Di Tullio leads with Holland in second place. And look at Thiago Spencer, frustrated in P3.
Coming to the line this time, they will see the white flag. It'll be one lap to go from virtual Watkins Glen in the first round of this brand new season of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. There's Barney the Flagman waving the white flag. It's Di Tullio out in front by about 1 second over David Holland. Doesn't look like Thiago Spencer might have anything for Holland on this final lap. We'll see if that'll all change when they come to the back straightaway, but as they run up the hill, George, for one final time. What a day for Alessandro Di Tullio. No major mistakes on this final lap. He'll be looking at a race win.
Absolutely, he could well be. Di Tullio is certainly enjoying himself at the top end, but with a second back to Holland, who's in second place. Look at behind Thiago Spencer, going for the Hall of Fame second place. He's going for a last-ditch effort here on the final lap. Down through the next right-hander, and Thiago Spencer with Drater battling with Wagner there for fourth and fifth place as they make their way out. It is going to be Drater on top. Here comes Holland again on the outside. Oh, what a maneuver there from that man Holland to land that second place. David Holland, take a bow. He moves up into P2 and stamps all over Thiago Spencer in absolutely archaic fashion, Joshua.
Holland saw the Delta Sport 1-2 almost go away, and he powered around the outside to get back around Thiago Spencer. Here comes another move from Spencer. He can't make it into the braking zone. Drater going to cover off the spot on Wagner, so Drater in the 6 can hold off on P4. But as they work their way out of the boot, final efforts from each of these drivers here from a spectacular race at Watkins Glen. But winning the war at the end of the day through the final 2 corners, Alessandro Di Tullio. We didn't hear anything from him in the last season here on RaceSpotTV in the official F3 Championship, but he wins the opening round from Watkins Glen in Season 4.
It was an absolutely beautiful exercise of teamwork. Di Tullio lands out of fame first place, the first win in this season's championship here at Watkins Glen. Take a bow, Alessandro Di Tullio on landing that P1 spot. The Holland in second place, say nothing more but brilliant in his defending efforts to keep Thiago Spencer. Remember, he had pole position at the start of this race, but he just could not do it on the day. Thiago Spencer frustrated in P3, but how about that battle for P4? Paolo Drater and Conor Wagner, both of them battling right to the end, but Drater came out on top for that 4th place. Exceptional stuff, Joshua.
What a way to open up a brand new season of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Full results coming your way, and it's Alessandro Di Tullio who got the win. David Holland P2, Thiago Spencer, Paulo Drater, Conor Wagner rounding out that top 5 with Adrian Falcon, Will Redford, Flavio Dantas, Jose Copland, and Leonard Sherry rounding out the top 10. Back down the order for down to P20. It's Josh McCall, Stephen Verity, Peter Hruska, Danielle Kamameri, and Jerome Lamy rounding out your top 15. Victor Balea, Connor Bell, Philip Schiff, Rafael Kamara, and Raul Hyman rounding out your top 20 with Luca Bincoletto, Colin Chin, Matteo Graziano, Nicholas Rasmussen, Tobias Olsen, and Sergio Set Kamara rounding out your field. And what a race this was, George. Just an insane battles throughout the field. We had exciting battles from first all the way down to P15 at one point, all the way down to P20 at one point in this race. And I think it just goes to show how these F3 cars can race. They don't have any DRS. They don't have overtake. No complicated wings. Not a lot of dirty air. They can run right behind another driver, and slipstreams on lawn straightaways can lead to the insane moves we saw going into the carousel today. And this is just round number 1. We have 11 more rounds to go in this season and a ton of different racetracks.
Absolutely incredible. And they overtook, as you said, slipstreaming, overtaking au naturel. And that is exactly what we like to see. Watkins Glen provided us with so much magic. I'd love to see it back on the calendar one day in some form of Formula Series. That'll be for sure. We just saw a great exhibition of immense driving here tonight for the first race of the season, and I can't wait to see more. I mean, let's just talk about the leaders. I mean, they were absolutely phenomenal. Di Tullio, what a drive, holding on to that P1, carefully managing the race with his teammate David Holland as well. Tiago Spencer, maybe a bit of a drop in performance during the race. I highly expected him to carry that pace through into the race, but like we said in the pre-broadcast, you know, quali pace is one thing, racecraft is a total other situation altogether.
And a 1-2 lockout from Delta Sport. Now, they have been around the F3 community for so long. Everybody knows Delta Sport when it comes to F3 racing here on iRacing. Not surprised to see them at a 1-2 lockout, but they need to keep this momentum going. No team championship here, but getting that name out there in these official broadcasts, you know, we're saying the name Delta Sport. They are one of the fastest sim racing teams in F3. Keeping these wins up, keeping their drivers at the front, going to lead to much more exposure for that team, and everybody is going to know that name soon.
They certainly will do. I mean, a front row lockout, it literally, you can't say any better than that. And they obviously pride themselves on teamwork, maximize what your team can achieve. And that is exactly what they did tonight. I think we saw a perfect team display, but at the same time, an excellent individual display as well, because it takes an individual performance to get yourself in those positions and then apply the teamwork to consolidate those first two places. And that's exactly what they did. It was an absolute Delta team, absolute masterclass. That's all I can say about it.
We'll see if they can do the same thing in 1 week's time from virtual Snetterton, because that is the next track on the calendar here for the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. And remember, anybody can go race this series on the iRacing service. It is a Class C road championship, so Class C road license, buy the F3 car, buy the track that week, and you can go racing just like these guys did today here on RaceSpotTV. And we'll be bringing you the top split broadcast every Friday, same time slot, 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time, 9:15 p.m. GMT. It'll be the same time every week, every Friday. You can catch action from the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. That's going to do it for our broadcast here on RaceSpotTV. We thank you all for tuning in here from virtual Watkins, Glen. For our producer, Hugo Louise, for my colleague in the booth, George Morgan, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in 1 week's time from the virtual Snetterton for more of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship.